go from feeling responsible and tired and burnt out to energized. This is what needs to change. They need to become energized. They need to fall back in love with why they started their business in the first place. They need to get into a space where it's not just them driving the energy in a business, because energy is all you've got. You've got the energy that you spent in the past, which is the money, the resources, the team you now have. You've got energy you're going to spend in the future, which is the limited amount of time that we all have. So how are you going to energize you as the founder in that business? Welcome to the Marketing Report. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 77. The Marketing Report is a podcast for passionate yet frustrated business owners who are looking for a competitive edge. Now, we are going to be having some guests upcoming on the show, but today we're going to be having another one just with me and you, having a little chat about all things clarity in our business and actually defining kind of the mission for the business. Where are we actually taking the business? Now, there are all sorts of fantastic people out there who are absolutely in love with Simon Sinek and Simon Sinek's why. But I'm a little bit cynical of Simon. I'm always pushing the buttons, pushing back on the concept of why, because while I agree that having a why is important, the type of why is the thing I push back on. Because in Simon Sinek's work, we talk about like a why that is greater than oneself, a why that actually supports the planet, which is a fantastic concept. I do love the idea of coming up with a why that's big and ambitious. But what it does, having this big ambitious goal, is it forces people to procrastinate. You're thinking, all right, well, I can't just have any why. I have to have a why that the planet approves of, which is not the purpose of a why. The purpose of a why is to get very, very clear about why you're doing what you're doing so that you'll get up every day and do it, rather than it having to be for everyone else. Now, there is a different concept of why as well, which was we want a why that other people can engage in. But at the start of any business, we're not talking about big corporate business. We're talking about businesses that are small and medium businesses where there is a founder, a driver, a person who is getting that business up and going. Yes, they've got team members, and yes, you've got support out there or even in the business. But it's not a place where you're trying to create some big corporate entity where you have a CEO involved who is actually driving the thing. It's actually the person who founded it in the majority of times that is the one driving it. Now, you could be part of a family business. Maybe it was your mother, your father, whoever it is that started the business, and now you're driving it forward, but your ownership is the thing that's really in there. So it needs to be your why. That's the most important why in the business. And I would love to have a discussion with anyone who thinks differently, because this is something that I've been deep in for like 25 years now. What is brand? Brand is a concept that actually umbrellas an organization. Why do we need brand when we have personal brand? Well, the only reason to have a corporate brand is when we have an entity of a size that it has a number of different individuals underneath it, and it has split personality disorder because of that. So we have the brand that sits over the top of it that helps to focus and direct what are we trying to achieve here, and we have a company mission and all the things that go with that. But if you're a business owner who's still engaged and driving the business, very different story. So while there's a time and a place for actually creating a corporate brand, if you're a small business that is really the face of the business, it's often a good idea just to make sure that you're leaning into your personal brand, because it's going to be useful in the short term. You don't need to create two brands, one being you and the other being the company. You can actually be the face of the company and at the same time not have to be two things at once. And in fact, the more you lean into things that are natural to you as a personal brand, then you're going to more likely do them consistently, which is the essence of good branding. Now, why am I talking about branding? Because branding, the face, the essence, the experience of dealing with you and your business all starts with that manifesto, that why. And why do I say manifesto? Well, because in the old days, I used to talk about mission.
And I still use mission from time to time, especially when I'm working with a corporate infrastructure where we are trying to bring people together to get on an individual mission or a mission where they come together on that. But the manifesto allows you to put you as the driver of the business into the mission. And so back in the day where I used to do a lot of change management and things of that nature for the branding side of a business, we would talk about mission, vision, and values. And I still do a lot of that thing, as I said, but that was even contrarian to the gold standard, which was vision, mission, and values. Now it's weird, like, oh, you're talking about, well, it's really dramatic, turning around mission to come first instead of vision, but it actually did make a massive difference because what was happening at the time, and it still happens today, is that a lot of businesses will spend a lot of money, a lot of time working and crafting this perfect vision statement for the business, which then at best goes on a plaque on the wall, at worst goes into a document in a drawer and is never seen again. And I wanted to avoid that because it flew in the face of doing the work in the first place, which was to focus the business and therefore focus the team behind it. So I wanted to make it about a doing statement. So vision is, what does it look like? What does it look like when you're actually achieving a certain thing? Well, I'm like, achieving what? All right. So I think that's why mission really needs to come first. Vision, again, shouldn't be even a statement. Vision should be a story that you tell about what it looks like when you walk into the space of where we're achieving that mission. All right. And then the values are, what do we need to be doing that? In other words, in your vision story, what are you seeing in evidence? So let's step back. Why manifesto? Because a mission statement for a lot of people is just a doing sentence. This is what we're aiming to achieve, which is the worst case scenario because it means that you're not actually doing the work now. You're just thinking about it in the future. But the mission version of that, I created what I thought was actually quite a good little format because it had measurability around it. And what I used to do was say, all right, who are we dealing with? What are we doing for them? What are we trying to achieve? So where are we doing that? And how are we going to measure our success? Like, what is the tangible measurement of our success? And that tangible measurement was always a really, really cool way of making a mission statement work. But with the mission statement, it was still very sterile. It was still a little bit crafted. And so I've stepped back from that a little bit further and I've gone, right, manifesto. How do we actually design a manifesto? Now, what is a manifesto? Well, a manifesto is your vision for the future. Now, it's not a vision statement. It's a doing statement, but it's more along the storytelling line. So it consists of 4 things in the version that I suggest and advise for people. So I want to take you through that, and then potentially we can see how that can apply for you in your business. And I think that doing a manifesto, creating, writing, publishing for yourself, this isn't something you need to put out there to the general public, but actually helping you get massive clarity in what you're trying to do. A manifesto is an amazing way of doing that. So what I get people to do is usually write it out, and if they don't want to write it out, they can speak it into a recording device, or they can record a video, very much like what I'm doing now, even though you might be hearing this in podcast. This is a video format. And I'll get them to answer 4 questions. So it starts with, the manifesto starts with, what do you see? What's going on around you right now? And I'll show you how that looks in just a moment. But what do you see? The number 2 is, what is wrong with that picture? What needs to change? Number 3 is, how should it change? What are we going to do to change it? And 4 is, what does it look like when it has changed? What does the future look like? So my manifesto is very much around helping small business owners who are sort of trapped and caged in their own golden cage of success, right? So what I see out there is passionate yet frustrated business owners who are taking 3 steps forward and 3 steps back, and they're They've got to a point where their success has them completely stuck because they've got employees now, they have commitments, they've got families depending on a certain level of income, and so they're trapped in this sort of this golden cage of success. And so what needs to change? Well, obviously they need to break out of that cage. How can they do that? How can they stop finding themselves like spinning their wheels and often burning out? Well, they can do a couple of things. One of those is to, that's how you're going to change. So let's just say what's going to change. They're going to go from feeling responsible and tired and burnt out to energized. This is what needs to change. They need to become energized. They need to fall back in love with why they started their business in the first place. They need to get into a space where it's not just them driving the energy in a business, because energy is all you've got. You've got the energy that you spent in the past, which is the money, the resources, the team you now have. You've got energy you're going to spend in the future, which is the limited amount of time that we all have. So how are you going to energize you as the founder in that business? Well, then we move to the how, which is number 3. The way that you're going to do that is you're going to bring the things that you love outside of the business into the business. So whether that means, you might have a love for motorcycles. How do you bring your love for motorcycles into the thing that you do? Now, that could be just as simple as talking about it. Your love for golf, your love for literature, your love for poetry, your love for your family, your love for all these different things. Bring the things that energize you into the business. And what you find by doing that is that you start doing work that you love. So that's one part of it. The other part is stop working with people that you don't love. So who are ideal customers? Who feed your energy? Who do you love working with? Who energizes you when you work with them? All right? Start working and attracting those people into your world. And then suddenly you'll find yourself, which is step 4, on the other side of that, energized to get up every day, loving what you do, loving who you're working with, doing work that is purposeful and helps you to get back to that place where you had the passion and the energy when you started your business. So in it, I've got a more concrete version of that, but that's just talking through the scope of where my manifesto sits. So what is it for you? What do you currently see happening? All right? What needs to change about that picture? How should it change? And then finally, what will the future look like on the other side? And so for me, and my wish for you and for the other business owners who are listening to this, is that on the other side of that, not only do you love what you're doing, but you have the energy to build the business to a space where it's achieving its mission, it's achieving the manifesto that you've designed, because ideally a manifesto leans into something you're trying to solve in the world, a problem that exists out there. Okay, so it is your driving force that actually is something that brings you forward. Now, it's interesting because a lot of the time these crafted mission statements and vision statements are all supposed to be a big beacon of why to draw team members to you and draw ideal clients. But I find that the crafted nature of them is the thing that gets in the way. So the thing with manifesto is it needs to be raw and it needs to be real. So how do you create a raw, real manifesto? Well, I'm not saying that you should go all out and get drunk, or whatever it might be, but what you need is to get yourself into a position where you're willing to just freewheel some of these thoughts. Put them down on paper, speak them into a microphone, say them to camera, whatever it might be, but do it in a way where the most you've done is potentially a 1 or 2 line answer to those 4 questions, and now you're just feeling out your manifesto. You're saying it out loud, you're saying it raw, you're saying it real, and do not try to craft it, right? This is not necessarily for the general public, this is not for the world, this is for you and your clarity. Then, take 24 hours off. Now, I'm not saying just go on a holiday, but I'm saying step away from the manifesto for 24 hours, then come back and read it, listen to it, or watch it. And ask yourself, is it still true?
Now, if there's elements of it that are not quite true, absolutely update those. Those things need to be true for you. But if it is true, even if it's a little bit raw, even if it's a little bit embarrassing, it's perfect. Because it has you in it. It's the raw, real, realistic, and honest, which is the real thing. It's got a truth in it. It's an honest version of what it is that you're trying to do. Now, you might just keep that for yourself and you might put it somewhere, but the exercise itself is very clarifying. Or you may want to share it with some colleagues. You might want to share it with your team members so they understand what it is that you're trying to do. And it's funny because that starts to inform you. Once you start getting that sort of level of clarity around what it is you're trying to do, you start talking about it. and it comes through in the things that you say, where suddenly you'll be talking to potential new team members or what have you. You'll start saying things along the line of this manifesto in job ads or things where you're inviting people to come and work with you, and you'll start attracting people into your world that are right for that mission. So, what do you see? What is wrong with that picture? What needs to change? And how? And what will the future look like when it has? Record it, raw, honest, step away, come back, read it, listen to it, watch it. Is it still truthful? If it is truthful, leave it, enjoy it, sit in it for a bit. And then over time, if things change, you can address it. You can always update it. This is not something this is one big one, actually. A lot of people create these vision statements that are like, we need this to last for 10 decades, But the reality is people change. Missions change. And so if the mission no longer becomes true, if the manifesto no longer becomes true, write a new one. It's absolutely fine. Sometimes we find ourselves at the top of a ladder. We've climbed a ladder, got to the top and gone, you know what? I actually don't like being up here. And that's not surprising because you've never built the business you're about to build. You've never got to the next place for the business. So you don't know what it looks like necessarily. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you get to the top of the ladder and find that you actually don't like the business that you've created, you can always change it. If you bring things that you love from outside of business into your business, it's more likely you're going to love it. If you start working with people you enjoy working with, it's more likely you're going to love it. And when you are working on those things that you love, the passion that you've got actually will energize you, and also the people you're working with will energize you. And then ideally, you'll be completing my mission, which is to help small business owners stay energized. Because I am definitely on a mission to remove apathy, burnout from business, and actually bring the passion back into business to help business owners do the thing that they dreamed to do, which will either be the business that they always dreamed of, or the lifestyle that business will give them. If you've got any questions around that, I'd love to hear your questions. It's russell@russellpearson.com. You can always send me emails there. Sometimes they jump into junk mail, but I always look through the junk, at least once a week, and I will find them and I will respond to you. So feel free to do that. If you're not part of the Future Proof discussion group, which is a little business group we got there on Facebook, I'd suggest you go and have a search for that, find that, apply, and I will let you in, especially if you're a business owner. That's what that's all about. It's a business owners group where we have a few hundred great people who network together, and we catch up once a month to have a discussion on how to future-proof our businesses in this crazy environment of change. If you're needing any assistance with getting more comfortable in your sales, maybe your sales process is a little bit rocky. If you're trying to attract more ideal customers into your world, your leads are maybe like sometimes you've got good leads, sometimes you don't have good leads. You need a full pipeline, or you potentially are lacking clarity, and hopefully. The manifesto process is going to be really cool for you. But if you do need that extra support, then do reach out, because we do have programs to help small business owners and medium business owners like yourself do the things they're going to want to do to ensure that they're building a business that they love, which ideally gives them the lifestyle they love. And until next time, stay passionate, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Make sure to visit russellpearson.com for more podcast episodes, videos and more. russellpearson.com.